Hello, today we're going to learn about naming ionic compounds. We're going to name ionic compounds using the stock naming system, which is the modern system. In each case, we're going to be given a formula, and we are going to need to determine the name of the compound. There are some distinct steps. Naming an ionic compound. The first step is you write down the name of the first element. The one time where we will see it won't be an element, it will be our only positively charged polyatomic ion, and that is ammonium. And we see that right here, ammonium. It's the only cation on our list. So let's look at number one here. That is not ammonium. Our name of the first element is calcium, Ca. So we'll write calcium. And we look, and we know we have a polyatomic ion. Ooh, let's not jump ahead. So that's the first one. If needed, the Roman numeral that represents the oxidation number of the transition metal. So if that first metal is a transition metal, we will need to use the stock system and give the oxidation number using the stock system. We're going to do that in a different video. So right now, let's look and make sure calcium is a representative metal. It's in group 2. It's not a transition metal, so we don't need to do that stage. Step 2, it's not needed. Root word of the second element plus IDE, or in the case when it's a polyatomic ion, we just write the name of the polyatomic ion, which is kind of nice. So right here, we're looking here. We know it's a polyatomic ion because there is more than one element. All of our cases will either be binary, just 2 elements, or 1 element plus a polyatomic ion. So since we know we have a metal and we have that polyatomic ion, all we need to do is we're going to look up and we're going to find CO3 is right here on the list, and it's carbonate. So this would be calcium carbonate. Now, let's look on number 2. Our first step is name of the first element, or ammonium. Well, we know that is not ammonium. And so our first element is K, that's potassium. And our second element is chlorine. So let's check potassium. Is that a transition metal? Potassium is an alkali metal, so it's not a transition metal. We don't need a Roman numeral. So we can go on to root word of second element plus IDE. Now the root words, that's a little bit harder. We're going to have to memorize it, but it's not too hard. I'm going to add IDE on the end. And chlorine, the root word of chlorine is chlor, CHLOR. So it's potassium chloride. And you can look, the only ones that we're going to add the IDE are these nonmetals, so it's going to be nitride, oxide, fluoride, chloride, bromide, iodide, phosphide, carbide. You just take the first syllable and you add IDE. Let's look at the next one. Now this one is a transition metal. We're going to come back to that in the next video and finish up this worksheet. Lithium, and this is lithium. So name of the first element, or ammonium. We're going to look at Li, and that is lithium. It's an alkali metal. It's not a transition metal. So we're going to write the name of the first element. It's not a transition metal, so we can skip to step 2, root word of second element plus IDE, or the unchanged name of the polyatomic ion. So that is Br is bromine right here. So it's going to be bromide, lithium bromide. On these, on the ionic bonds, the subscripts do not affect the names. The only numbers we need is for our transition metals, and we're going to do that in the next video. So I'll do one more hard one, and we will see. Oh, right here, this one looks very hard, but I'll look, and my first step is name of the first element, or ammonium. I'm looking at that, looks really kind of complicated, so I'm going to check my polyatomic ion list. And there it is, ammonium, NH4. That's not a transition metal, so we can skip step number 2. If needed, Roman numeral represents the oxidation number. Step 3, root word of second element plus IDE, or the unchanged name of the polyatomic ion. So I'm going to go here. That has more than one element in it. I am pretty sure NO3. I'm going to look on my poly, and right here I have NO3 nitrate. Ammonium nitrate, and that would be the name of that element. So go through and find the ones, leave the ones that have a transition metal for the first one, and then go to the next video and learn how to do that.